Hello everyone, I welcome you to the Climate Connect webinar on China's renewable energy and carbon markets with an emphasis on its 12th five-year plan. I would like to tell you more about Climate Connect. We are a specialist news and data provider in the emerging post-2012 environmental markets. We have offices around the world. In the US, we are based in Kentucky. In Europe, we are based in London. And in Asia, we are based in Beijing and New Delhi. Our expertise in the Chinese carbon and renewable energy markets. We have published over 70 news stories on the carbon and renewable energy markets in China, some of which are listed below. We also publish a weekly China newsletter, and we cover the Chinese CDM market extensively in our global CDM weekly highlights report. The presentation structure: we'll start with an introduction to China, then we'll move on to the targets announced by China for its 12th five-year plan, that is between 2011 and 2015. These include the energy intensity targets and the renewable energy targets. Then we'll move on to the grid parity status of renewable energy technologies, and finally to the carbon markets in China. Introduction to China. China is the world's largest energy consumer as well as emitter of greenhouse gas emissions. In terms of registered CDM projects, China leads with a share of 45%. In terms of CER generation, China is the largest country with a share of 63%. China recently overtook Japan to become the world's second largest economy. It is also the world's most populous nation with a population of 1.33 billion and a landmass of 9.5 million square kilometers. Targets announced by China for its 12th five-year plan, that is between 2011 and 2015. During this period, China intends to reduce its energy intensity by 16% and its carbon intensity by 18%. It also intends to increase the share of non-fossil fuel based electricity to 11.4% and also plans to increase its forest cover by 600 million square meters. China has announced a goal to reduce its energy intensity by 16% during 2011 and 2015. As we can see, the energy intensity in China has been steadily decreasing over the last few years. During the 11th five-year plan, that is between 2006 and 2010, China had aimed at reducing its energy intensity by 20%. Regional energy intensity targets. China has ordered shutdown of old and energy intensive industrial units in 18 sectors and has disapproved new units in 12 sectors. It has announced regional energy intensity reduction targets, which vary between 10% and 18%, with the higher targets for industrially developed regions like Guangdong, Gansu, Shanghai, Beijing, and Hebei. Renewable energy targets. China has announced a plan to increase its renewable energy capacity in various technologies, which include solar energy, wind energy, and biomass. For solar energy, China has announced a target to increase its installed capacity with the addition of 5,000 megawatt by 2015. At the end of 2010, China had an installed capacity of 900 megawatt. China is the world's largest producer of solar panels. China intends to increase its wind energy capacity by 45% and plans to add 70 gigawatt of new wind energy generation capacity by 2015. It also plans to establish 6 large onshore and 2 offshore wind farms during this period. At the end of 2010, China had an installed capacity of 48.6 gigawatt of wind energy. In terms of hydropower, China plans to add new generation capacity of 120 gigawatt by 2015. As we all know that China is one of the largest producer of hydropower. At the end of 2010, the small hydro installed capacity was around 54 gigawatt. Biomass and geothermal energy. By the end of 2020, China plans to install biomass-based power generation capacity of 30,000 megawatt. Currently, it has a potential to produce 50 million tons of liquid biofuel and 80 billion cubic meter of biogas annually. China is believed to have geothermal reserves of 463 trillion tons of coal equivalent. The grid parity status of renewable energy technologies in China, as we can see that the electricity price of solar PV and tidal and geothermal energy is significantly higher compared to the conventional sources like natural gas, nuclear power, and coal. However, the prices of biomass based and wind based electricity are comparable to those of natural gas and nuclear power. The electricity prices of renewable energy technologies are likely to come down significantly due to the ambitious targets announced by China to install new renewable energy technologies. To the aviation and forestry sector, China has announced a target to reduce its carbon intensity in the aviation sector by 22% by 2020. In the year 2007, the domestic aviation sector contributed 31 million tons of carbon emissions in China. China has announced that it plans to increase its forest cover by 21.66% by 2015. At the end of 2010, China had a carbon stock in its forests of about 6.2 billion tons. The carbon markets in China. China aims to reduce its carbon intensity by 40 to 45% by year 2020. It recently announced plans to introduce regional carbon trading platforms in its provinces, which will eventually be unified into a national carbon trading platform by 2015. Thank you. You may contact us at info@climate-connect.co.uk for any queries.